What happened in Indiana wasn't just a normal sports storyline. It was a slow-burning tension that finally erupted into something much bigger than a coaching debate. When the season began, nobody imagined that Stephanie White, the hometown hero with championship roots and the kind of résumé that demands respect, would become the center of controversy for a fan base that had been starving for relevance. Yet as the months passed, what started as murmurs of doubt began turning into public frustration. The same fans who once praised White's return suddenly found themselves questioning every decision she made, every lineup she put on the floor, and every post-game explanation she offered. This was the first real sign that the job of coaching the Indiana Fever in the Caitlyn Clark era might come with expectations heavier than anyone anticipated. The margins became scrutinized, the mistakes magnified, and the patience evaporated almost overnight. Indiana is not a market known for apathy. It is a state that breathes basketball, that studies the game like a religion, that expects discipline, grit, and consistency from its teams. When White was hired, it felt like a moment of renewal, a decision rooted in familiarity and trust. Her history in Indiana was deep, from Purdue to the Fever to her growth as one of the most respected basketball minds in the league. The city believed that pairing White with Clark would be the beginning of a new era. And for a moment, it seemed true. Winning the Commissioner's Cup ignited the fan base, proving the team had the potential to compete with the league's best. Clark's star power elevated the Fever's national profile. The puzzle pieces looked aligned. Then, as quickly as hope blossomed, everything shifted. Clark's groin injury removed the engine from the Fever system, and suddenly, White was navigating a season without the centerpiece the entire roster was built around. But fans weren't in a forgiving mood. They weren't evaluating the circumstances. They were watching losses pile up and looking for answers. The tension reached its peak during that brutal mid-August stretch when the Fever dropped 4 of 5 games and the offense seemed to collapse without its floor general. In previous eras, losing a superstar would buy a coach some leeway. But not in the Caitlyn Clark era. Every rotation became a debate. Every minute distribution was dissected. Every miscommunication on the court was blamed on coaching oversight. Lexi Hull's mysterious lack of playing time became a symbol of fan frustration. The stagnant late-game possessions became a talking point of disappointment. Even the defensive effort was questioned as supporters vented their frustration online. Indiana basketball fans, who once rallied behind their new coach, began shifting their tone dramatically. They wanted accountability. They wanted answers. And they wanted results faster than White could deliver them without her franchise player. It didn't help that Indiana's roster had more talent than their record indicated. Aaliyah Boston was coming off stellar seasons as one of the most efficient post players in the league. Kelsey Mitchell had elevated her scoring, becoming a critical offensive weapon. Natasha Howard brought championship experience and physicality. On paper, this was not a team built to collapse just because one star went down. That made some fans even more frustrated as the team underperformed during the injury stretch. They expected adjustments that never came. They expected rotation stability that never arrived. They expected leadership that felt absent during the most difficult games. Sports fans can be forgiving when a team is rebuilding. But this wasn't a rebuild. This was supposed to be the rise. White remained composed publicly. She spoke with poise, defended her players' effort, and acknowledged the challenges without shifting blame. Her professionalism was admirable, but fans weren't judging professionalism. They were judging results. And that is where the narrative turned. The Fever's 24-20 finish looked respectable to outsiders, but to Indiana fans who had endured seasons of irrelevance before Clark arrived, it felt underwhelming. To them, a semi-final exit wasn't a step forward. It was a reminder that the window to build around Clark wouldn't stay open forever. The team's struggles without her magnified every doubt about whether White could lead them to a championship when expectations inevitably grew heavier. That's when the whispers began. Not sourced reports, not insider leaks, but something far more powerful in the world of modern sports. Fan momentum. Once supporters began floating the idea of Cheryl Miller as a potential replacement, the conversation took on a life of its own. Miller is the kind of name that doesn't just carry weight. She carries mythology. She is a pioneer, a legend, someone who shaped women's basketball long before the WNBA existed. Her connection to Indiana through her brother Reggie only amplified the fantasy of what she could represent for the Fever. Fans imagined her leadership. They imagined her pairing with Clark. They imagined a cultural force with credibility that transcended the court. Logic said Miller probably wouldn't return to coaching. Emotion said she was the dream candidate. Still, the speculation wasn't really about Miller herself. It was about something much deeper. It was about trust. When a fan base starts imagining replacements, it means confidence has cracked. It means they no longer see the current coach as the leader who can guide them to the finish line. It means doubt has seeped into the foundation of the relationship between team, coach, and supporters. And in Indiana, doubt spreads quickly. This is the same franchise that fired Christie Sides after a successful year because they believed White would be a better fit for Clark's development. This is the same front office that understands how short the competitive window can be. And this is the same fan base that has no interest in settling for mediocrity, especially when a generational talent is on the roster. The truth is that coaching Caitlyn Clark is one of the hardest jobs in basketball. The spotlight is relentless. The scrutiny is constant. Every decision impacts not just the team but the national conversation around women's sports. Clark's presence changes everything. It raises expectations to impossible heights. It accelerates timelines. It turns every minor setback into a storyline and every major loss into a referendum on leadership. That is the pressure White walked into, and now the question is whether she can withstand another season in that furnace. The Fever will enter 2026 with Clark healthy, expectations soaring, and the fan base watching every possession with renewed intensity. The front office must decide whether stability is the right move or whether a spark is necessary to take the team to the next level. What comes next will define not just White's coaching legacy, but the trajectory of the Fever franchise in the Clark era. Because one thing is certain, patience isn't part of Indiana's culture anymore. The expectations are bigger. The pressure is heavier. And the clock is ticking loudly. What do you think? Should the Fever give Stephanie White a full season with a healthy Caitlyn Clark? Or is it time to explore new leadership while Clark is entering her prime? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive into the biggest stories shaping the WNBA.